Hi, this is Bonnie with TLC, and this bag is a cinch. And we're going to show you how to put it together. You have your pieces, or I have my pieces all cut out and pre-measured. And so I'm ready to go and start assembling it. I've got my casing and my ties and my straps and my bag pieces. So we start with our two main pieces. One's the main bag fabric and one's the lining. And we're going to sew up the side seams. We folded the fabric in half. So the bottom of the bag will be your fold. We sew up both sides. And then the top will be open. So we're going to do that with the main fabric and then with your lining. Couple little back stitches here to lock in our stitching. 5/8 seam, standard seam size. So there's our bag out of the main fabric. And now we're going to do the same thing with our lining. Now at the lining you're going to want to leave a 4-inch opening because we're going to need that to turn the bag a little bit later. On our ties, you're going to want a 4-inch angle cut on one end of all the ties. You've got 4 ties all together. And on the other end, we're going to create a little pleat. You take the center of the top edge and just, create a little pleat about 1/4 of an inch deep. And then make a little stitch across it to kind of secure it. And now, since the underside of my tie is going to be a contrasting color, I would take the right side of my contrasting color and my main color and put them right sides together. And then we're going to sew them all the way around except on the top edge where we have a raw edge. So again, 5/8 seam all the way around, leaving the top edge free. You can see here that the top edge is open and I've stitched all the way around. Now we're going to turn it. This is the fun part. And I'm really fast at it, as you can see. If only it could be that fast, but it's not. So anyway, you get the point. Now we've got it turned and we're going to press it and top stitch it. I want our top stitching to be about 1/4 of an inch in. I use the outer edge of my sewing foot as my guide. That usually ends up about 1/4 of an inch, as you can see along this other edge here. So we'll continue to get that stitched around. And now you can see that it's top stitched all the way around, and I've got my contrasting fabric on the back side and my main fabric on the front side, and my straps are ready to go. Now we're going to tackle the ties. If you're going to use ribbon or cording, you can skip this part, but if you're going to make your ties, you're going to want to fold it in half and stitch all along the raw edge like this. And then once you get it stitched, you need to take a safety pin and put it in one edge of the end, and then we're going to stick it right into the tube of the fabric here and run it through. Again, I'm really fast. Doesn't take long. If only, huh? So now we've put that through and turned it, and now we're going to iron it and smooth it out. You're going to want to lay it flat with your seam on the side. You're going to want to tuck the ends in and do a couple top stitches along each side. And to finish it off, you can put a couple little knots on the ends. You may not want to do that until we get to the very end of doing our bag and running it through our casing. Now let's get back to our bags, and we're going to want to attach our straps. And in my case, since the underside of my strap is blue, I'm going to pin it to the right side of my lining, blue against blue. So both of my straps are pinned on each side, by each side seam. I just lined up the center pleats with the side seams. And now we're going to tuck the lining into the wrong side out bag. The main fabric is wrong side out. And so you're going to end up with right sides together on the bag. And line up your side seams, lining and the bag, and pin it all the way around, making sure that your ties are nicely tucked down there, sandwiched between the two fabrics. And continue to pin it all the way around. And then we're ready to start sewing it. Take it to our sewing machine and get started on sewing all the way around 5/8 seam. Reverse stitch a couple stitches, lock it in, and continue sewing. I might mention here where you left the opening in your lining. After we turn it, you need to remember to go back inside your bag and hand stitch that opening closed. I'll mention it again when we get further into the tutorial. Okay, now we've made it all the way around the upper edge of our bag and sewed our lining to our bag. So now we need to reach in, find that little opening, and pull our bag all the way through that opening. So continue to pull until you've pulled it all the way through. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to stuff it back into the bag so that it's the way it's supposed to be. And you can see that we now have a bag with lining, and we have our ties attached on the sides, and we're ready to top stitch. First we need to press it, and then we need to top stitch all the way around the top edge and give it a nice finished look. I like things to have a nice finished look. So we're making progress on our bag. We've got straps and we've got a bag, and now we just need to put our casing on and get our ties on to cinch up the sides, and we'll be done. So let's go to the machine and top stitch all around the top edge, 1/4 inch in, again using your presser foot, the outer edge as a guide, and stitching all the way around. And continue sewing until you make it all the way to where you began. Okay, so now we've got the stitching done, and we move on to our casing. You'll want to press 1/4 inch all the way around on your casing piece, and then you'll want to press it in half the long way. And then we want to get your bag, and we want the side seam, and we want to take about 1 inch down from your upper edge and mark that, because that's where you're going to place your casing. Line it right up with the spot that you marked. And now this is where the fold comes in. You're going to want to line up the fold right on the side seam. It's a good way to just make sure that you're getting it lined up and even and straight. You're going to have to peek under there a couple times to make sure that the fold is landing right on your side seam. Okay, now you can see that we're getting our casing lined up with our side seam. And we're going to pin it in place and then make sure that everything is straight and that we have our ending point marked. And then we're going to create 2 channels by sewing down the center seam. And I want to show you how I did the center seam. I sewed the center seam from the inside of the bag, which you'll be able to see how stitching it in the ditch just makes it cleaner looking on the inside of the bag. So this is what I did. You just sew it right in the ditch of the side seam, and that makes it cleaner looking. And then you have the stitching showing on the top. So now we're going to sew down each side of the casing again to create our 2 channels for our tie. Okay, so I'm going to finish sewing up this other side here. Move on to putting our ties in. Okay, put it, excuse me, put a safety pin on the end of your tie and work it down from the top to the bottom. And then we're going to push it through so it comes out the other end, which would be the bottom edge. And don't seem to be quite as fast on this as I was on some of my previous tasks, but we'll struggle through it. There we are. So we've come out the bottom on one side of the casing, and we're going to pull it through, but not all the way. Leave a couple inches on the top end, and then take your pin and work it back up the other side. Again, just there we go. Now we've got both of them coming out the top, and we should have a loop at the bottom. And there it is. You're going to want to pull the ties from the top until the loop disappears inside the casing. And then your last step will be to close the bottom of the casing by sewing on the very edge, just like you did on the sides of the casing. Be careful not to catch any of the loop. And there's our casing and our ties, and you can scrunch it a lot or a little and vary the size of your bag by about 6 inches with a 12-inch casing. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I thank you very much for watching TLC Inspirations YouTube channel.